I know it's time for the No Half Step in Hockey coverage, so let me deliver the goods. It's time for operation number 729. That's right, Operation 729. It's time for show 729 for the Renegades Puck. And at this moment in hockey history, the Nashville Predators currently find themselves in 5th place in the Central Division. They've skated in 65 games. That is tied for the least amount of games played within the Central Division. They currently have a record of 34, 24, and 7, 75 points. On home ice, they have a record of 17, 11, and 3. They've scored 188 goals. They've given up 190. That's a goal differential of -2. The Nashville Predators' next opponent is a Central Division opponent. As a matter of fact, the Nashville Predators' next 2 opponents are Central Division opponents. This game will be the Chicago Blackhawks. They have skated in 67 games on the season. They have a record of 23, 38, and 6. 52 points has them in 8th place in the basement of the Central Division. On the road, they have a record of 9, 20, and 3. They've given up 171 goals on the season. Now, they've scored 171 goals. They've given up 239 goals on the season. They have a goal differential of -68. Now, let's talk about the Central Division standings, and let's talk about the wild card standings, because we have a whole new plot line to start following along with here. Let's start with the Central Division, then we'll talk about the wild card. The Dallas Stars are currently and still in first place, as they have been for quite some time, 87 points. The Minnesota Wild are at 84 points in second place. The Colorado Avalanche have picked up their pace as of late, 3rd place, and that is your automatic 3 qualifying playoff teams from the Central at this moment in time. The Winnipeg Jets are in 4th place with 79 points. The Nashville Predators are in 5th place with 75. And then St. Louis, Arizona, and Chicago will expect to start seeing little ease next to those particular teams coming up here very soon. So for the Central Division, when it comes to the automatic qualifying spot of 3rd, the Nashville Predators are 5 points currently behind the Colorado Avalanche. They've skated in the same number of games as the Colorado Avalanche, and the Avs, like the Preds, are surging as of late. The Winnipeg Jets, the team between Colorado and Nashville, though, they are starting to slide a little bit. Now, this, most importantly, affects the wild card race. Seattle Kraken have actually dropped back into the wild card number 1 spot with 81 points. The Winnipeg Jets are in the second wild card spot with 79 points. And then the Nashville Predators have 75 points. So after tonight's action, the Preds find themselves only 4 points out of a playoff spot with no other teams to climb over, just head-to-head against Winnipeg. And did I mention head-to-head against Winnipeg? Well, 2 critical, important things here about that. First, the Nashville Predators have skated in 3 fewer games than the Winnipeg Jets, so there are 6 additional points in hand for the Nashville Predators. 4 points behind in the standings, 6 points in hand. Could be one of the most important factors down the stretch of this regular season. Also, for the Nashville Predators, they'll have the head-to-head matchup against the Winnipeg Jets coming up this Saturday at Bridgestone Arena. So after the Nashville Predators wrap up this game against the Chicago Blackhawks, they'll close out the homestand against the Winnipeg Jets, but immediately have to jump on a plane Sunday for Sunday's game in New York against the Rangers. Tuesday, they'll be in Buffalo back home, and a very, very big weekend. It'll be the 23rd of March versus Seattle, and then, of course, the 24th home base freakout 2 at Tailgate Brewery Music Row, and the 25th will also be Seattle. That's the same day that they'll unveil the Pekka Rinne statue out there on the plaza at Bridgestone Arena. So the Seattle Kraken in town for 2 consecutive games against the Nashville Predators, and then the Preds will actually close that weekend out against the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's going to be one hell of a weekend here for hockey in the Nashville area. So let's talk about the Preds, and let's talk about the Blackhawks and this next matchup. Now that you're all caught up on the standings and you know the full picture in both division and wild card, this will be the final regular season meeting between the Nashville Predators and the Chicago Blackhawks. Preds looking to go for the regular season sweep. Let's go back and talk about December the 21st, the first time these 2 teams met. It was the Preds with a 4-2 victory at Bridgestone Arena. Jussi Saros got the victory, 37 out of 39. Jussi had a goal and an assist. Parssinen had 2 assists in that game. Then we follow that up on March the 4th, and it was the Nashville Predators securing a 3-1 victory in Chicago. UC Saros again with the victory, 27 out of 28, not nearly as heavy a workload as the first game against the Blackhawks, and it was Barry and Tomasino each with a goal against Chicago to secure the Nashville Predators that victory. So the Nashville Predators have picked up 4 out of a possible 4 points, and they've won both games against Chicago this season, looking to sweep the season series coming up here at Bridgestone Arena on Thursday night. Now, for the Nashville Predators, before we look at the Chicago Blackhawks, injuries have become something very, very big that we've talked about a lot as of late. I would like to know when Philip Forsberg is going to stop being listed as day-to-day and be listed as week-to-week or whatever it is, because Philip Forsberg now has been out for a significant amount of time, and his status of day-to-day has never changed. Parsonen also listed as day-to-day, McDonough day-to-day, and Carrier 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not giving you the entire injury report because it has gotten quite extensive, and the rest of those players will simply not be in the lineup for the remainder of the season. When it comes to the Chicago Blackhawks, let's take a look at the most recent sample size. Let's go back and track 5 games worth of results. It was on March the 6th, a 5-0 win versus the Ottawa Senators. On the 8th of March, a 4-3 loss at the Detroit Red Wings. On the 10th of March, a 4-3 overtime loss at the Florida Panthers. On the 11th, a 3-1 loss at the Tampa Bay Lightning. But most recently, and pay attention to this, a 6-3 victory versus the Boston Bruins on home ice. Now, the Boston Bruins have already clinched the playoff spot, and they do not seem to be quite the juggernaut that they were the first half of the season. They have been suffering unexpected losses more often as of late. So this may not be as impactful as it would have been, say, a month or so ago to talk about. So a 6-3 victory over the Boston Bruins was their most recent game. Now, we take a look inside the rankings and the matchups between these two teams. In the goals for category, the Nashville Predators lead in this statistical metric, 25th overall in the NHL with 2.83 goals per game. The Blackhawks, 2.52 goals per game, is 32nd. That is, of course, last in the NHL. In the goals against category, the Preds are 2.89 per game. That's 12th best in the league, while the Blackhawks are giving up 3.54 per game. That is 25th overall in the NHL. In the shots for category, Nashville generating 30.4 on net per game. It's 21st best in the league. The Blackhawks are 31st in the league, only generating 26.7 shots on net per game. But the Nashville Predators do have a habit of giving up more shots than the average for a team. They have given up 33.4 shots per game over the course of the season. That ranks them 26th in the NHL, typically putting their netminders under heavier duress than seemingly necessary. Now, the Blackhawks have given up 34.2 shots per game over the course of the season. That has them 29th in the NHL. When it comes to the special teams matchup, the Preds are ahead in both statistical metrics, but let's go ahead and give you the data. On the power play, the Preds have the 25th rated power play in the league. They've scored 38 times on 203 opportunities. That's 18.7%. The Chicago Blackhawks have the 29th rated power play. They've only converted 16.8% of the time this season, 33 out of 197. On the penalty kill, the Nashville Predators PK has been surging as of late. It did dip one spot in the NHL rankings since the last show, but still highly impressive effort as of late. 81.6% of the season, 12th best penalty kill in the league, and they've given up 40 power play goals against on the season. When it comes to the Chicago Blackhawks, their penalty kill is rated 22nd. They've given up 46 power play goals against on the season, and they have a kill rate of 76.4%. Individual statistics, we always give you the top 5 scorers from each squad going into the matchup. I left Domi on in this particular situation when it comes to Chicago Blackhawks because I wanted to show you the disparity in how many points the Blackhawks have lost in their offense since the trade deadline. Domi had 18 goals and 31 assists for 49 points when he was traded. Now, the leading scorer for the Dallas Stars at this time going into this matchup is Radish. 20 goals, yes, highly impressive on the season. That does lead the Chicago Blackhawks. Add 13 assists to this, and you'll get 33 points. Seth Jones at 10 and 21 for 31. Taves 14 and 14 for 28. Athanasiou 14 goals, 12 assists for 26 points, and Kurashev 9 goals and 16 assists for 25 points. In that, Mrazek 8, 19 and 3, and 8.95 save percentage and a 3.63 goals against average, but when you're on a team that has a goal differential of minus 68, your goaltender is probably not going to have very good individual statistics either. Going to the home side of the ledger for the individual statistics, and it comes to Roman Josi leading the Nashville Predators in scoring, 17 goals and 41 assists for 58 points. The 41 assists represents the number 1 overall in assists on the team. Matt Duchene, 19 goals, and that leads the Nashville Predators as far as active players. Philip Forsberg also has 19, but still out injured. 32 assists, 51 points on the year. Tommy Novak, 13 goals, 15 assists for 28 points. What an impressive run of hockey for young Tommy Novak in recent times. Colton Sissons, 11 and 16 for 27, and Glass, 9 and 17 for 26. Updated numbers on UC Saros, 26, 18 and 6, a 918 save percentage, a 2.75 goals against average, and he continues getting the job done. If the Nashville Predators go on to make the playoffs, it will be largely due to UC Saros' second half of the season efforts. Just an incredible netminder. We'll talk more about him coming up in a few minutes, and we'll talk about the Reverse Sports full game recap. That, most importantly, is coming up next, right here on the Renegades of Puck podcast. Back in just a second.